Hi there, this is my channel, Jaru Walks. In the year 2024, I will embark on an epic walking journey across the United States. I plan to hike 8,000 miles and to cross the US 3 times, via the Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, and Continental Divide Trail. In the hiking world, this is known as a calendar year Triple Crown and has been completed by only a handful of hikers in history. The calendar year Triple Crown has traditionally been completed by jumping within or between the trails throughout the year, primarily to avoid snow, but also to avoid other seasonal hazards such as floods, extreme desert heat, and wildfires. For my attempt, I'm trying to hike each trail on a continuous, unbroken, end-to-end footpath, and to accomplish this, I must hike across all 4 seasons. I will be posting weekly updates along the way, so you can join me for the journey. Wish me luck. 6:50 in the morning. It's definitely starting to get colder out. I'm not sure which mountain that is. I have like Adams, Rainier, and Mount St. Helens are around me. I'm not sure which is which. I can actually see where I'm going now, all the way down there. It reminds me so much of Franconia Ridge in New Hampshire. Just riding this ridge line and you're above the cloud level, and then I feel like whatever that is like the equivalent of Mount Washington off in the distance. Also, watch how steep this is. That original rock is still tumbling into the snow. Alrighty, back to hiking. I just did a 5-hour layover at the Cracker Barrel convenience store. I'm not sure what the nearest town is to it, but it's White Pass, which is where there's a ski resort. So I didn't really mention it before, but I'm in Rainier National Park. It's just a brief stint, like 10 miles through it. But it's remarkable how as soon as you enter these national parks, just, I don't know, the world shifts in a stunning way. Cruising this ridgeline right now, visibility is about 15 feet. Got a pretty good breeze coming in. Basically just blowing cloud all over me. And every single plant is drenched. Luckily the trail's wide enough that I'm not brushing up against the plants. If I were doing that, I would be a lot colder right now. Hoping this would happen. I spent last night camped out at an elevation that's basically like up there, and I'm maybe like 500 feet lower now, and it was just dripping condensation all night on the tent. I'm fine, but yeah, it was just cold and misty all night, and I was thinking, man, if I just push forward another mile or two, I might even pop out below this cloud and it's like a dry world again. Problem is, if you look at this grade, there's really nowhere to sleep. It's not directly on the trail. And if I were directly on the trail, I couldn't really pitch my tarp up. So if it did rain, I'd be kind of screwed. And the next campsite wasn't for, I think it was like 4 or 5 miles. So anyway, I'm glad that I'm out of that cloud. I mean, you can see it right up there. I mean, just barely above me. It's crazy how much of a difference it makes once you pop below the cloud level. It just feels like an overcast day now, whereas this morning it felt like, I mean, it wasn't as bad as being rained on all night, but it definitely felt like, I mean, I slept in an extra hour and a half. I mean, I was just kind of exhausted, but I definitely, it was one of those mornings where you wake up and everything's shivering and like everything is just like, do this, do that, do this, do that. Okay, just like do that, get everything packed up so that you can get out of here and start moving. And 10 minutes after you're moving, you'll be warm again-ish. It was one of those kind of urgent mornings. And then in your head, in that kind of like more alert state, you're just planning for like the rest of the day, maybe even to be like this. But as I started walking, I thought to myself, once I not pop out necessarily, but once I go down in lower elevation, I might pop out of this world into like the subcloud world. And that's exactly what happened. So we'll see how the day progresses. If the sun, sometimes the sun will come out and just obliterate the clouds above you. So might start to warm up a little bit. Alrighty, I'm about to take my, I guess, lunch break. And right up here somewhere, there's supposed to be a cabin right off the trail. And I'm expecting there to be 5 or more people in that cabin. Specifically because it's raining. I'm calling it a 50% chance that there's a fire rolling in it too. At least that's my hope. There's the cabin.
It's winter and I'm in the mountain to ski, and just looking at the snowstorm. And
yeah, it's kind of how it felt walking up to the cabin.
So that cabin was a total vortex. I think I spent, I don't really know how much time I spent there. I think it was probably around an hour to an hour and a half. So visibility is about 6 feet. My hope is that if I keep pushing, well, I know that I'm going to drop about something like 2,000 feet in elevation. So maybe I'll get below the cloud line and all this condensating rain. It's so foggy. And the trail looks just like what's to the left of it and to the right of it. But at this point, my feet know what the trail feels like. And if I were to get off the trail, I think within 3 seconds, my feet would know this is not the trail. And because I can see about 3 feet ahead of me, 4 feet, 5 feet ahead of me, I'm able to just plug along and then operate off of the feeling of my feet to determine if I'm going off the trail or not. It's kind of funny. There have been times where it gets a little steep and I start moving faster downhill. And I'm like, I'm moving almost faster than I can see because I can't see very far. And then it's this weird sensation that my feet are leading the way. The feet are sending signals back saying, yeah, this feels familiar, this feels familiar, this feels like trail. See, now it's clearer to see. You can see stuff on either side, but it goes away. It'll go back to where it's just dirt everywhere. Oh my God, I'm finally out of that cloud. I'm gonna take note of what elevation I'm at because I'm going down now and then I'll start going up the next one. And I don't want to go any higher than I am now. Milkshake on trail.
I was up here a couple years ago. It was a nice warm day, and I was asking everybody what they'd like to see at Trail Magic,
Yeah.
and they all said milkshakes.
That's unbelievable.
So
They're
I figured out
correct.
how to do it.
So we have to get up at 5:30 tomorrow. What if it's
So I took off this morning up a 3-mile climb. I held off on eating breakfast until I was going to make it to the top of that first climb. Thankfully I did that because I came over the crest of that climb down into a campground and there's this giant tent set up with these guys cooking and I was just like, oh my God, I think this is trail magic. But I didn't want to just barge in. So I quickly kind of sleuthed around with my eyes and I saw 5 hiker backpacks stacked up next to this open air tent. It was 3 paneled, so it's side, side, side. And I'm coming in from this way, so I can't see into the tent. So I turn around, make it around the tent. And I look in the tent first, and I see 5 hikers. And I ask them, is this trail magic? And they all say yes at the same time as the 2 hosts also confirm yes. And so the trail magic consisted of pulled pork sandwiches, coffee, milkshakes, chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry, kind of like a, I don't know, what you would call it, a noodle salad with I don't know, kind of an olive oil dressing with red beans and that classic kind of American noodle salad, coleslaw, apple cake, brownies, giant muffins, sodas, beers. I mean, it was just unbelievable. So I chatted with the host for a minute before I had some food. And I was like, milkshakes? I wouldn't even have dreamt of that. And they're like, well,
we were out here like a couple summers ago doing trail magic, and we asked the hikers like if there was anything that was missing, and some hiker piped up and said milkshakes. And so one of the two hosts, who is a professional chef, came up with the idea of using a cordless, like battery powered drill with a I forget what that kind of like bit is called, but it's like for drilling through drywall. So he uses that to mix the milkshake, and he made killer milkshakes. And then like their wives contributed to the cooking, but I guess they don't like camping as much, so they just make the food, and then the two husbands, who are friends, come out and serve it up. They camp out for 1 or 2 nights, and then are the heroes of probably about 20 to 40 hikers in that like 1.5 day long period. Pretty amazing. Look at this. Blue skies in Washington. They call it the evergreen state. I think because it rains constantly, keeping everything green. You could also call it the never blue state, because man, I think this is like the second time I've seen blue skies in Washington so far. All right, I'm about to walk out of a natural, that's correctly, a national forest preserve area. I'm filming upwards to show you the trees. I want you to see if you can tell the moment I exit what I think is the exact border of the national forest into a non-preserved area. Could you tell? That was it. These trees are tiny. Look at this, watch this. Look at the width of that tree and every tree. Now watch this. Look at those trees. And look at that sign. You probably can't read it, but it says entering national forest land. On the other side of that trunk, you can see a little bit of wood sticking out that says exiting national forest land. That is the exact transition. Big trees, baby trees. Look at this. You can see it so clearly now. Baby trees, big trees. It's crazy how marked the difference is. This section clearly got logged somewhere, like sawed down for lumber at some point. Look, you can see an ancient tree stump there. That's what a bigger tree would look like. There could have also been a wildfire through here a long time ago. And by a long time ago, that'd have to be like probably over 50 years ago. But to me, this feels like logging. Who knows though? Just wanted to show you though, like a little thing you can notice. I'm not going to promise you that if that sign weren't there showing the difference that I wouldn't have noticed it or would have, but I've absolutely noticed that transition before from massive trees to smaller trees.
So hopefully it clears up on Sunday. It's a good stretch, but yeah, good. Got a lot of berries. That's way more than me. I don't know, you're a pro with the huckles.
So I was coming down the trail, someone yells, "Hey!" And I look over and there's these two guys out there picking, looking for huckleberries, but all the huckleberries, I guess, are starting to become out of season, but now the blueberries are in season. So they're out there picking blueberries, and one of them hiked the PCT a couple years ago. And anyway, so we were just chatting about the PCT, And then his friend at the end was like, hey, do you want some berries? I was like, of course. And so I got a little handful. So I'm gonna eat these right now.